We Light the Way, the motto for House Hightower, is also the name of episode 5 of House of the Dragon. We're officially halfway through the season. And man, I almost said shit's getting good, but shit has been good for a very, very long time. Just shit is getting better and more intense, and I'm even more on the edge of my seat, and I'm getting even more paranoid watching this show, which I love. I really, really love that. Welcome to another House of the Dragon video. I'm going to talk about the newest episode. There is going to be some spoilers, not a lot, but some. It's not going to be a play-by-play. But I am going to give you my overall thoughts on the episode, my first reaction, my first impressions to this week's episode. But before I get too far into it, consider subscribing. I talk about House of the Dragon all the time. I'm also talking about Rings of Power. I do trailer reactions, that sort of thing. So subscribe if you're interested. Anyway, let's get right into it. One of the main focuses of this whole season, obviously, has been about Rhaenyra, and about how Viserys has named Rhaenyra his heir. And one of the biggest questions that has been lingering over this show is, how will the realm take to Rhaenyra as queen? How is the realm going to respond when they officially, finally, in theory, get their first queen as opposed to king? And yes, ever since the season began, people have been questioning this. You hear people make these side comments. You yourself as a viewer are wondering. But in this episode, we start to get a taste of that reality. For example, we get this amazing scene in the very beginning of the episode with Otto Hightower, who used to be Hand of the King, talking to his daughter Alicent. And Alicent calls him out for essentially what the audience has been calling him out for this whole time, is how, why were you so dead set on getting Aegon on the throne? And Otto gives his actual reason, and his reason doesn't sound like very selfish reasons. You know what I mean? It's not all Littlefinger twirling his mustache, like I said in my last video. His reasons seem to be somewhat justified, at least from someone who has his perspective on things, where he thinks that if there's a queen on the Iron Throne, knives are going to come out. There's going to be war. There's going to be bloodshed. There's going to be just violence everywhere, including violence potentially towards his own daughter, Alicent, towards his own grandson, Aegon. And he says this to Alicent, and Alicent kind of realizes this. I think she starts to actually realize why Otto was doing everything he did this whole time. And it also kind of sinks into you as the viewer, because yes, you know shit is going to be questioned. You know people are always going to challenge the Iron Throne. You know people are always going to question Rhaenyra. People are always going to want Aegon on the Iron Throne. But hearing Otto say that Rhaenyra herself could essentially assassinate Alicent, assassinate her own younger brother Aegon, just to secure her claim to the Iron Throne, that is the high stakes drama that I absolutely love about the world of Ice and Fire. And it's so cool that this show is finally getting into the actual bloody reality of what we're about to see. And all this mindfuckery that we've gotten this whole season so far about who likes who, who's aligned with who, who's scheming against who, is shown beautifully in a scene at the very end of this episode where the Valyrians come to the Red Keep and everyone's sort of dining and feasting, and we get all of our main characters together in one room, including Daemon, which I just thought was hilarious. He enters the Red Keep yet again. He enters the throne room yet again for the third time this season and gives a dramatic entrance, just like always. And despite how dramatic his last entrance was, what does Viserys do? He offers him a seat at the table, no questions asked. Their brotherly bond I really like, that no matter how much they really get on each other's nerves, there's always this sort of mutual respect. But anyway, as that dinner progresses and the dance floor opens, these characters you see characters eyeing other characters from across the room, you see characters dancing with each other, whispers being said, and I just love it. This is like setting the stage to the actual war, you know what I mean? Like, the first 4 episodes was setting the stage to the fact that war is probably going to come. When is it going to come? We don't know. But again, the first 4 episodes are like, war is on the way. And then this episode is like, war is inevitable. Whose side are you on? But in secret. And now I have a feeling the second half of the episode is going to be war, which I cannot wait for. Criston Cole really surprised me this episode, because very early on in the episode, he essentially told Rhaenyra how he thought about her and what he wants from her. And it kind of caught me off guard, because I didn't really gauge Criston Cole's emotions towards Rhaenyra that clearly, apparently, because I got the vibes that he liked her, obviously. But I got the vibes that he would more or less contain that within himself and just sort of fight for her and sort of protect her at all means necessary without putting himself too much out there, kind of like what Jorah did to Daenerys throughout most of the Game of Thrones show. But no, in this episode, he's like, fuck it, run away with me, abandon your titles, abandon all your claims, come with me to Essos, and let's live a life together. And yeah, that really caught me off guard, but he goes about it in a way that's kind of interesting to me. He seems to like Rhaenyra, but he seems to approach it more of the fact that he feels guilty about what he's done, about how he's broken his oath, and it really gets to him this whole episode. And all of this comes to the forefront as well at the very end of the episode, because Criston Cole attacks the boyfriend of Laenor Velaryon, and murders him, and it's absolutely brutal, and you can't help but feel bad for Corlys' son, because his boyfriend just got brutally murdered right in the middle of this floor, and then he's marrying Rhaenyra, which he doesn't really want to do, while the blood puddle of his boyfriend is sitting 10 feet behind him. It's a brutal, horrible scene, and I'm going to be really, really interested in his character going forward. I didn't really like his boyfriend that much anyway, because he's coming to the Red Keep as a guest, and the first thing he does is like blackmail a member of the Kingsguard. What did he think was going to happen? Then at the end of the episode, Rhaenyra and Corlys' son get married, and Viserys drops dead. I'm assuming he's dead. Rest in peace to that dude. I really liked the actor, and I really liked his character. He was my favorite character in the show up until this point. I really, really love this first season of House of the Dragon. Game of Thrones is my favorite show of all time. It's my favorite story of all time. I've said that a million billion times. But House of the Dragon is off to an amazing start. And as a fan, as a diehard fanboy of Game of Thrones, I am so thankful that we're getting another show in this universe that is so fucking good, because there's so many great shows in this world, and so many of them get spin-offs, but very rarely are any of them even worthy of holding a candle to the original. Like, I hear Better Call Saul is really, really good, and it's a worthy successor to Breaking Bad, but very rarely do I hear about any other spin-off shows that are, again, reaching the heights of the original. Also, I'm really interested in what Alicent Hightower and the Hightowers in general are going to do at the end of this episode. Criston was about to off himself, and then Alicent stopped him, and I have a feeling she has use for him because he's a badass warrior, and he seems to be very loyal, and she's probably going to take advantage of that. But I have a feeling Alicent, after all this, is going to fuck off back to Old Town, and I have a feeling she's going to gather her forces, she's going to protect herself, she's going to protect her claim, she's going to protect Aegon. The Hightowers in general are going to rally the forces behind her, so because a lot of people want Aegon to be the heir anyway. And then war's going to break out. Where Daemon is going to fit in all this, I'm really, really interested of, because obviously I have a feeling the Velaryons are going to be on, Rhaenyra's side. It's essentially going to be Rhaenyra, the Targaryens, and the Velaryons, and anyone loyal to them versus anyone loyal to the Hightowers and anyone who wants to see Aegon on throne. But Daemon is a wild card, you know what I mean? Daemon is just sort of there, and no one really knows yet exactly what he wants, or at least why he wants what he wants. So he's the wild card going forward for me in this season, and just can't wait to see what happens. Anyway, that's my quick thoughts on the newest episode of House of the Dragon, titled We Light the Way. What did you think about it? Let me know in the comments. And again, consider subscribing if you like this video. I talk about House of the Dragon all the time, other TV shows, I do trailer reactions, that sort of thing. So yeah, just consider subscribing if you want to. But anyway, thank you for watching, especially if you watched this far. See you next time.